Liev, how are you? Pink hair, still a little bit there, but I had a haircut the other day. Signorina Bohemia, hello, lovely to see you here. Cherie, hello. So once I know that Eve is ready to log on, I'll get her to join the stream. Hi, everybody. I can see that there are 6 people watching. Not everybody's commented. How is everybody? While we wait for Eve. So it's 10 o'clock in the morning where I am, or just about, and it's very chilly this morning, but the sun is out. And also, can you all hear me okay? Can you just let me know if you can hear me okay? Or should I sign? Okay, I think I've got just got a message. Yeah, we'll have her soon. Hopefully, technology won't let us down. But this StreamYard app has worked pretty well so far. What is everybody wearing for their centre today or evening, depending on where you are? Oh, got a bunch of comments. Jonathan, hello. Sunny lockdown. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know you can hear me. Awesome. Hi, Kyle. Great. Thanks, Sheree. How is the puppy going? So today's scent of the day for me is Helmut Lang Eau de Parfum. Oh, Aramis. I actually haven't smelled the original Aramis for a long, long time, Kyle. Rose Flash. Have you tried any of the other Towerville, Cherie? Here's Eve. I'm just going to get her to join us. Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me okay, Eve?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Let me just put the volume up. Yeah. Let me just say hi.
Hi.
I can hear you loud and clear. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. It's lovely to meet you face to face.
Finally meet you too. Not through text. So this is great.
I'm really glad that we're getting to do this, and seems to be working pretty well. What I want to do, though, and I didn't give you any notice on this, but for everyone that's watching who might not know much about you, so Eve's got her YouTube channel, Eve Spider Smells, and how long has it been going now?
Let's see. I started right before the whole quarantine thing happened, so I think I started around late February. So not too long. It's pretty new.
But you've been uploading pretty regularly as well. Like you upload a couple of times a week, from what I can tell.
Yes, yeah. I do have the gift of time right now to do that. So
yeah, it is very convenient. So those of you who aren't familiar with Eve's channel, I'm going to leave a link. I think there was a link in the description anyway. But by way of introduction, we had been talking about doing a collaboration video initially, and Eve came up with the idea of talking about particular perfumes, fragrances that remind us maybe of somewhere we've been to or traveled to, or even remind us of a place we've never been but might like to go one day. I can tell you now that the 3 I've chosen all remind me of places that I've been or holidays I've had. So so that was Eve's idea, and we just decided, I guess we decided recently to do it as a live stream, and I think it's going to be better because everyone will get to ask us some questions or even tell us what kind of fragrances do the same for them. So because you're my guest, Yve, I'm going to let you choose who goes first and then we can alternate.
Sure. Let's have you go first.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I'm going to start off by saying that I have not done a lot of traveling in my life. In fact, when I was a kid, I had a trip to Italy because that's where my parents are from. But as an adult, I haven't traveled that much. But last year, I was very lucky enough to be able to go on a holiday to Italy. We even spent a couple of nights in Cannes in France. But I did go to Florence for Fragranze, in the Pitti Fragranze perfume show. So the fragrance I'm going to talk about now is basically, it's always going to remind me of that trip to Italy in general, because when I was deciding what fragrances to take with me, I decided to only take a few because I knew I would be buying a lot while I was there, and I decanted a couple, but one I ended up wearing a lot because up until then I hadn't worn it, was Guerlain L'Homme Ideal cologne, the white version. Now,
I really like that one.
Yeah. So I think I've recently heard that this has been discontinued, and I could be wrong, but I bought this only because here it was really, really heavily discounted at our local, discount pharmacy. And I got this 50ml bottle for less than $20. And up until then, I hadn't worn it. So it was basically a blind buy. But when I got to Italy, I had my little sprayer and I wore it on several days. And I really ended up loving it. But now every time I smell it, I'm reminded of walking the streets of Rome, just being there. The weather was great the whole time. And it's got really positive, warm memories for me now. That's my story anyway.
Oh, that's awesome. Great.
Yeah.
You may have said this, but when did you go to?
It was September last year. So luckily, just a few months before all the strife happened in Italy.
Great. Awesome choice. So I guess I'll go with mine next.
Yeah.
All right. So I usually like to go to the beach. So I wanted to pick something that reminded me of that whole experience, hanging out on the beach. So I decided to go with this one, and this is Serge Lutens Détour Noir. And to me, this one smells like, it does have that suntan lotion type of vibe. So it kind of smells like people wearing their suntan lotion, but it also smells like a lot of white florals as well.
Yeah.
Which we do have a lot here in California. And I also get a lot of the coconut too. So, being here stuck at home, I always think about wanting to go to the beach. So, yeah, we usually go to just once here in California. It also makes me think of places like Hawaii, or like the Philippines, where they have beaches there too. So
I've always wondered about Datura Noir. Is Datura? I don't know what Datura smells like, actually.
I don't know either.
Yeah, okay, because I was wondering if it was a particular type of flower that's prominent in that fragrance, or even if it's some kind of fantasy note that's supposed to smell like Datura.
Yeah.
But I never had the impression, given that I think I looked at the name and I never got the impression that it was, kind of beachy white floral type of fragrance.
That's
cool.
not what oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, next time I'm in smelling some Serge, I'll give that one a try, because I know they sell that here.
Yeah. So I didn't expect it to be beachy when I first tried it. I also don't know what Datura smells like. All I know, I guess it's like a poisonous flower.
Oh yeah.
And I guess some reviews that I did read said that it doesn't smell like the flower at all. To me, the white florals that I get is mostly the tuberose.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
And
but
is there anything coconutty about it at all?
I think so. Especially when I wear it when it's hot. That's when I
Hmm.
really get the coconut. I don't get it as much during the winter, but the heat really brings out the coconut creaminess of that fragrance.
Okay. Okay. Good choice. All right. So I'll go with my second choice. Now this one here um, probably is a little bit controversial. I'll explain why in a minute. But I live in Melbourne, in down here in Australia, and we have friends that live in Sydney. So sometimes for our summer holiday vacation, even Christmas time, we'll go to Sydney for a holiday, a few days or a week. A few years ago, before this fragrance became more well known, I discovered this in a store in Sydney because it had only been out for a few months. And now every time I wear it, it basically reminds me of Sydney. Sydney is famous for being for its, water culture. Everyone has boats. Everyone loves going to the beach, and it is Pacific Rock Moss.
Oh,
Okay, so um, later on, this became very popular because
the hype.
a lot of guys thought that this would be their ultimate panty dropper, and it never eventuated. but
Darn.
but I like this from the get go. I mean, it is basically a really pleasant aromatic aquatic. There's a nice lemon note and clary sage. I think it's clary sage in the top as well, and it is a mossy. It's not like an amazing, spectacular original scent, but it really works. And on my skin, I've done a review on it. On my skin, that actually performs pretty well for what it is. And but I'm always attached to it because I felt like it was one of the first Australian brands that I discovered when I started getting into perfume, and like I had a sample of it before anyone on YouTube ever knew about it, and I just still really enjoy it. And every time I wear it, I mainly only wear it when it's warm and it's summery, but it does take me, to walks along Sydney Harbour and all of that kind of thing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So that's Pacific Rock Moss.
Nice. I have not tried anything from that house. Would you say that's your favorite one?
My favorite from the house is actually, I don't have a bottle of it, but my favorite from the house is Desert Rosewood.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's it's really, if you like benzoin, like for me, the prominent things are benzoin and there's a really nice mandarin note for Desert Rosewood, and it's gorgeous. There's obviously rosewood in there, but I get mainly this gorgeous sweet benzoin.
Gotcha. Cool. And I have not been to Australia. So I guess when you go to Sydney or even in Melbourne, what are some things that you recommend people to do when people visit there?
Well, look, I was born in Melbourne and I've grown up here and I've lived here all my life, and I really love my hometown. When people come, if people talk about Melbourne, I always really talk about, like I always recommend. I just love walking around the central business district, and especially. I mean, we're not the only city that have this, but we've got some beautiful laneways that are full of cafes, and there's a great coffee culture here as well. And I think Melbourne also has the best perfumeries
Oh,
in
really?
Australia as well. Yeah.
Okay. So that's definitely
So
I should go
if
to go
you
Australia.
like walking around cities and discovering stuff and drinking coffee and smelling perfume, Melbourne's your town.
Good to know. Great. All right. So I guess I'll talk about my second one.
Yeah.
All right. So I ended up going with Detix Eau Capital, and I only have just 10 milliliters of this one. And I think this is supposed to capture the essence of Paris. And even though it's been years since I've been to Paris, I think it does a pretty good job capturing that. I wouldn't say it smells exactly like the city, but I guess the soapy rose in it kind of reminds me of the beauty of Paris, but there's also that slightly dirty patchouli too. And even though I don't think cumin's listed as a note, when I first spray it, I smell something that smelled a little sweaty. So it kind of reminds me of the subway in Paris.
Okay.
So yeah, I spray this when I want to feel like I'm in Paris, even though it doesn't exactly smell like the whole city itself. But have you tried this one?
No, I haven't tried it, and it's right now it's a little bit bittersweet for me because I was supposed to be in Paris a month from
That's right.
today,
Yeah.
and because of coronavirus, all of that has been cancelled, and I was so looking forward to it. So it's a bit heartbreaking, but I'll get there eventually when everybody's allowed to travel again. But I do want to smell that one. Have you smelled Frederick Mahl's Rosenkier?
Oh no, I have not smelled that one yet.
Okay, because
I have. Oh, go ahead.
I,
Sorry.
I was just saying, from what I read, it seems to me that there might be similarities between the two, but I could be completely wrong.
I know some people have compared this to Portrait of a Lady, and
Okay.
I have smelled that one. I have worn that one. I would say Portrait of a Lady is a lot darker. That one did not work on me. It was just too strong, and the raspberry in it almost smelled like rotten fruit on me. So it just didn't work out for me. I could see similarities because of the patchouli and the rose, but I would say personally for me, this is a lot more wearable. But I think people who are a fan of Portrait of a Lady and they try this might be a little disappointed.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on your taste. So
So do you, I know you've got a few diptyque perfumes. Where does this one rank like amongst your favorites from the
I wouldn't
house?
say it's one of my favorites, not even my top five, because I do have to be in the mood for this one. And I feel like I could only wear this when it's slightly cooler, like in the fall, for example. Um, but I think if I were to pick a favorite of mine, it's probably Eau Dwell, but it's more for, I guess, nostalgia reasons, because that is the first one that I've tried from the house, and it
Yeah,
was kind of like my gateway fragrance to niche. So
it's a good house. I really
yeah,
like
I like it
diptyque.
too.
Okay, so we agreed on three fragrances, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So this one here is a bit of an unusual one because it's not, if you mention this fragrance, it's not necessarily something anyone would associate with a place, but because this is such a personal experience, so when I arrived in Florence last year when I was in Italy, the first morning I was there, I got up very early, like I'm an early riser, and I decided to go out and walk around where I was staying. It was probably like 6:30 a.m. And there was no one out there, and I got to go onto the Ponte Vecchio, and it was empty. And I took a photo of it because later on during the day, it was just crowded with thousands of people. But that particular morning, I distinctly remember spraying Antaeus
Oh,
from Chanel on. And so I was walking around this like strange, this new place for me, taking it all in because it's such a beautiful historic city. The sun was rising. It was just everything was pretty perfect actually, and I could just smell this wafting off me. And it's always going to remind me of that first morning in Florence. That's Antaeus. Have you smelled this?
a long time ago. I have not smelled it recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not like an vintage or anything. This is the version you can buy now in the stores. It is mainly for me. I get a prominent rose note on oak moss, and there's castoreum in the from the top. but I wouldn't describe it as animalic. It's a really, for me, dark Chypre style fragrance. There is leather notes in it. I don't know why I decided to wear it that particular morning. Well, I do, but it was basically because this was a small enough bottle that I was able to take with me in my luggage, and I decided that I'd wear that morning. It wasn't too warm to wear, so yeah, like it was a happy. Not accident, but like something I didn't do on purpose or expect, that I would have such a connection with that particular moment in time and this fragrance. But because it was what I was smelling, it stuck with me for forever now.
That's really lovely. I think you're inspiring me to make sure to bring like a particular fragrance when I start travel. I haven't traveled in a long time, but I definitely want to like start making those scent memories when I am traveling to a place. So, maybe selecting one fragrance I could wear for a trip and then remembering that trip and that experience by smelling it. Yeah, I have to revisit that one because I have not smelled it in a very long time. So,
I'm not sure. I know. I mean, I don't know many women who like wear it. I know women who like the smell of it, but it's a pretty obviously marketed to men. But if you like, I think if you like Chypre, if you like rose and leather, it's definitely one that you should smell.
yeah, I definitely love Chypre fragrances. Leather is something I'm starting to get into. I used to
It's not
not
too
like.
strong in this one, no.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Great. All right. So for my last one, I had a hard time picking between two, but I think I settled on this one, and I don't have a sample of it or anything, but I tried it in store, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is because when I smelled it on the test strip, it brought me back to my grandmother's farm, and she has a farm in the Philippines, and that fragrance is Oud Infinity from
Ah,
Disita. And I don't know if you've tried that one or
I
smelled
have
it.
tried it.
You have, okay.
Yeah.
So it is very fecal, but it definitely smelled like being on that farm with a bunch of goats around you. And I remember when I smelled the dry down, it also had this rose, and the rose kind of reminds me of the scent of the rosaries that my grandma had. So I think just those two smells together, yeah, the poopy oud and the rose kind of brought back that memory. Um, yeah. So it's
When,
been, sorry.
no, sorry to interrupt, Eve. I was going to say when I did try it, that opening was a bit like shocking at first, but
Yeah.
I do have to say that when it dried down, it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it was one of those fragrances where I remember I really did not like it when I first sprayed it, but I kept coming back to the bottle in the
Mm.
store because it was just so interesting smelling that rose after um, that fecal note. But yeah, it just brought me back to the last time I had visited, and it was years ago. I was probably around 15 or so. And even though it smelled like dung and poop and all that stuff, just the presence of family around you and how nice everyone was in that farm, that I guess sense of community, just like I just thought about it when I smelled it. So
Did you say you have a bottle of it now,
I
or
don't know. That
no?
is one that I can't see myself
Yeah,
wearing. And it is very
it's not
expensive.
cheap. Yeah.
No. And to me, when I pick fragrances to be part of my collection, it takes me a long time. Sometimes it takes me years to try it out and make sure I don't get tired of it before
Mm.
I make the purchase. And that I know that's one that I cannot wear on a regular basis or maybe at all. It's like one of those things where I could admire it from afar, but
It's a beautiful memory, though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for sharing those perfumes with everybody here. I'm going to just see, are you okay to stay for a little bit and answer any questions anyone might have?
Yeah.
Let's see. Deborah Day, you want to visit
Oh,
Australia?
yeah,
You should. RM, now, Marquis de Sade, who are you asking that question to? Have you tried Marquis de Sade, Eve?
I
1740?
have not tried it on skin, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I smelled it in store and I did like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I have to try that one on skin.
Yeah. What about Nick is asking if you, well, it's saying Erewhon is amazing. I've got to agree though, like Erewhon is my favorite from the
Yeah,
sea
that's a
type.
good one. It is quite unusual. That is one I think have to be in the mood for to wear. But I remember it being quite green and a little herbal,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm remembering correctly.
There's I really like the hay. There is a really distinct hay note
Yeah.
in it, which I really like. I want to ask you a question actually
Sure.
that I'm always curious about when talking to other perfumists. How many bottles do you have in your collection?
So in my own collection, not counting ones I borrow from my husband, I
Mhm.
have 32.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very modest collection.
My goal is to make sure to keep it under 40.
Yeah,
I
that's a
don't,
good goal.
yeah, I don't like to waste the things. I want to make sure I use the things that I own.
Hmm.
So that's part of the reason why it does take me a while before I buy something. Yeah.
I
How about
think, well, I wish I was more like you. I've got just over, well, I've got about 100 full bottles, and I count 30 ml bottles as full bottles.
yeah. Hmm.
And I have, look, if everything came in 30 ml sizes, I would just buy that size. But what I do is I do try and rotate through the whole wardrobe.
Good.
I find it very difficult if I had to just pick something based on how I feel each day. So I kind of make sure that if I haven't worn something in a while, I wear it. And then what will happen is I've become a lot better at if I wear something and I'm not, feeling it or I don't like it anymore, I do my best to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you experience decision fatigue when trying to select your fragrances?
No, because I basically rotate. That allows me to avoid decision fatigue.
Good. Yeah, that's not something I experience a lot. I mean, I don't
Mm.
have much to choose from, so
But it's good.
usually I feel
But you do get. This is the one thing I miss. And like I don't know if you have felt it more since you started your YouTube channel, but a lot of people don't realize them, and are probably going to making a comment on YouTube channels in general is that people think that you need a full bottle to do a video review of, and I've always found that idea a bit ridiculous because if you've got even a couple of mil of perfume, it's enough to do a review of, and I think people get too caught up in having bottles, and here's me talking about it and I've got 100 bottles, but like there are some people who have got many more bottles than I do, and I think I've got too many and I want to reduce that as well. But there comes a point where you just become a collector, and I always wonder how often people are wearing particular bottles, and I think they've just got it because they want to say they have a bottle.
yeah. And I get it. It does look nice when you present it on screen.
Mm.
But yeah, personally for me, I'm fine with just having a sample of
Yeah,
something.
yeah. All right. So, Cherie says she needs to be more like you, Eve. She's got too many.
I do like your collection though, Cherie. Any plans to travel after COVID and what fragrances I would take? So I was planning to go to Yellowstone National Park in June, but we ended up canceling that. We'd like being in the outdoors, so that was something I was looking forward to. For fragrances, I think I was just gonna bring Pomelo Paradis, which is just a grapefruit scent. Yeah, I think that's what
that's probably one of the most popular Atelier colognes, isn't it? I've got a decant of orange Sanguine, but I remember trying Pomelo Paradis. That was really nice. I do like grapefruit as a citrus.
Yeah, me too.
No. Amy, Amy, I'm sorry about your cat. I saw something on Instagram today. Are we afraid of our tastes changing, or do we easily sell what you don't like anymore? You can answer that first, Steve.
Yeah. So I think that's why sometimes it does take me a couple seasons or a couple years to buy a fragrance, because I want to make sure before I purchase it, I'm not going to get tired of it. But there were some fragrances that I've owned that I did get tired of, and I ended up giving it to some family members. I think the most recent one I could remember, Dolce & Gabbana The One, which is fairly popular. And I did wear it for a long time, but I just got tired of it and I couldn't finish the bottle. So I gave it to one of my aunts. But I think the collection I have now, I see that I'm probably going to keep them for a long time, if not forever.
I'm not afraid of my taste changing. I've actually enjoyed the last couple of years actually discovering things that I like that I never used to like. So really all that's happening for me, Amy, is that I'm liking more stuff than I used to. I used to have a more narrow taste, and now I've kind of expanded it. One thing I kind of don't like anymore is very sweet gourmand fragrances, or it's not even that I don't like them, they're probably nothing that I would wear. And so I've kind of basically gotten rid of any in my wardrobe that I had. Like I still and I think also I still like sweet stuff, but not necessarily stuff that smells like food. Is kind of what I'm trying to say. Deborah, what is the appeal of fecal notes? It's a good question, actually. But well, do you have a theory on this, Yve?
I guess I have a few thoughts. I know for me, fecal notes is something I don't personally like to wear on myself. The closest thing is probably like a dirty jasmine. That I can probably stand on myself, and I actually like that. But I mean, I guess with some ouds, if you're talking about fecal ouds, it could be associated with luxury, because I know those are rare type of ingredients to put in a perfume. But I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
I am certainly I certainly love animalic notes, but fecal is a whole other thing together for me. And you know, I guess it's a little bit like you know how people have a morbid sense of wanting to see, smell, touch taboo things, and I think that's probably what the attraction is with fecal notes. But like you, I don't think I could wear it just purely because I'd be too self-conscious of people thinking I'd shit my pants or something like that. So
yeah, no, I get that.
yeah, and there, you know, and it's all. See, I've smelled some perfumes that have beautiful, like Oud Infini, dry down beautifully, but like I can't get past the opening. So it's like I can't wear this purely because one part of it is going to smell like shit, literally, to me.
Right. Yeah.
So
a lot of time before you need a lot of patience, I think, for that
yeah,
one.
yeah. So Deborah, to answer your question, I don't think Eve and I like get the appeal of fecal notes either. I think probably they're used artistically as well, but you know, like I said, fecal is very different to me than animalic notes. Like you see how things like civet and castoreum are used in classic perfumery, and that they're there to actually reinforce the rest of the composition. But when something is deliberately made to just smell like poo, yeah, I don't get it either.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, though. That's probably why there are a lot of, or some fragrances that people do enjoy that have notes like cumin, for example, that smell like sweat. It could remind them of like something intimate, right? So
Yeah,
that totally makes sense.
yeah. So Jonathan has tried Histoire de Parfum samples. Brian's got 170 fragrances. Yeah, well,
I think. Oh, gotcha. I read it wrong. Sorry.
No, that's right. I'm a fan of the spreadsheet as well, Brian. So for those of you who don't know, I do have a spreadsheet with all my perfumes on them. Yeah, well, Nick, if you're a collector, I don't consider myself a collector of fragrances. Like I have a lot of bottles, yes, but I wear them. Like I don't buy a bottle and then vault it and only bring it out and sniff the spray. I want to experience the perfume. And I don't buy backup bottles of anything. If it gets discontinued, it gets discontinued. Like I kind of figure there's enough perfume in the world to replace something. What are your thoughts on backup bottles, Eve?
I did that once for a fragrance and I ended up giving it away. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to do a backup bottle for your favorites, it makes sense, especially if something is discontinued. But for me, I do know sometimes my tastes do change, and as you had said, there are a lot of fragrances to choose from that I want to try next. And if, for example, I have a fragrance that is discontinued and I can't find it anymore, I kind of see that as like, oh well, let's try another one.
Yeah. I think it's good. A good philosophy to have when it comes to buying perfume. Yeah. Starscream, have I tried Luna Rossa Black? Only once, and it did remind me a bit of. Have you smelled Bulgari Black,
Yes.
Eve?
Yeah.
I remember Luna Rossa Black smelling similar to Bulgari Black, so I didn't mind it. But I recently got rid of my bottle of Bulgari Black because it's very, very watered down to what it used to be.
It was reformulated.
It has been, yeah. It still had that same smell, but I just didn't love it the way I used to. Let's see. Oh, I hope.
At 2:30 in the morning.
Oh wow! Thanks for staying up, guys. Well, I guess that's the people in Europe have stayed up late. Orange Sangwine is lovely. I'm going to do a review on that soon as well, Signorina. Thinking of you, Amy. I know what it's like to lose a pet. I think a lot of us do. Guerlain. I haven't heard of Muger Millissime.
I haven't heard of it either.
Do you have Eve? Do you have houses like we come across on social media people who have particular loyalties to houses, and when I say loyalty, it's not like they love everything a house, but they kind of like have the loyalty based on the fact that the house is consistent with their releases in that they love them. Like I know there are a lot of Chanel fans and Guerlain fans and Dior fans. Do you feel like that about any particular house?
Yeah, I used to feel that way about Dior, but I kind of fell not completely out of love with it, but I have not been impressed with a lot of recent releases, both in their regular line and the Maison Dior collection.
Yeah.
But that was something that I used to really love. Right now, I've been on a Guerlain kick. I've been liking a lot of their fragrances. And I would say, in terms of niche, Dusita is just one of those houses that I fell in love with.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
Well, I'm very similar to you with Dior. Like I used to, I mean, I still love things like Fahrenheit, and I've got a bottle of Ombre Nuit. But again, nothing they've released in the last few years excites me at all. And I'm not crazy about what they're doing with the whole Dior Homme thing.
Yeah.
I haven't liked any of the releases that they've marketed to women over the last couple of years. I do still like Miss Dior as a woman's fragrance, but I'm the same. I've really gotten into Guerlain lately, and almost everything I try and test is like a success for me. But like, as probably a lot of people know, Francesca Bianchi is the queen for me when it comes to indie or niche. Like, I don't like everything in the line. Like, I'm not a fan of Sex and the Sea in particular, but everything else I enjoy.
So I have not tried any from her line yet, but I did
Ah,
just order one of her sample packs. I think
mhm.
the Back from Mars pack. So I'm excited to try that.
Cool. Well, let me know if you like anything from there. We just, oh, okay. Hang on. Can you see the comments there,
Yes.
Eve?
Yeah.
So you can scroll them yourself as well?
Yes, I can see.
Ah, cool. All
I
right.
mean, yeah, I'm scrolling myself. So
All right. So I'm just trying to see if I've missed anyone's questions. The Mogul says they just legalized recreational marijuana in Bangor, Maine. Congratulations, Mogul.
nice.
Reinhold, I have tried Hyrax from Duologist. That was a bit too much for me as well. Nothing I would wear.
I've only tried, I think their Tyrannosaurus Rex one. That one's pretty daring. I
Yeah.
can't see myself wearing that one.
What is daring about? I haven't smelled Tyrannosaurus Rex, but what is?
It's just, yeah, it was very tarry. Like it
Yeah,
smelled like tar.
yeah.
And that I think is one that you could smell on someone before they enter a room. It's
Okay.
very strong. Yeah.
All right. I'd still like to smell it when I get a chance.
It's interesting.
Um, Silver Man is wearing Mansera Rose Oud. Have you tried much from Mansera or Montal?
I've only tried a few from Montel. I have um, not been impressed, or more like it. I think it's too much when I wear it. It's a little too overpowering for me. Mancera, I have not tried any from that line actually.
Yeah.
Have you?
I have. Well, the main one is the popular Cedrat Boissé. I only have a decant of that. But I've been testing one that I'm going to review soon called Wave Musk, which is basically an aquatic, and it's terrible.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, it's not good. So I will be making a negative review very soon.
Looking
Um,
forward to that.
what are your thoughts on doing negative reviews?
Yeah.
How do you feel about them?
I did do one on Joy from Dior. Was not a fan of that one. So it's helpful for me to watch a negative review, but if I were to do a negative review, I'll be honest, I am not too comfortable doing it if it's for a smaller house
Yeah,
because I don't want to be responsible for hurting their business. But if it is a larger brand like Dior or one of those designer brands, I don't pull any punches. I will be pretty honest about that. I'll try to find something positive if I don't enjoy something. But it's also rare for me to find a fragrance that I really, really hate. But yeah, that's my view on that.
I've very rarely smelled anything I hated like that I was going to be mean about. But my view is slightly different when it comes to smaller indie houses, only if they are prepared to be sending out bottles to people, then they're fair game for a negative review, is the way I see it. If they don't, then I'm a bit like you as well. They can afford to do that, then they can wear a negative review if it's warranted. Amy, I don't have any inside info on Sticky Fingers by Francesca Bianchi, only that I think she said on a live stream that it was a patchouli based fragrance. Have imaginary authors, Brian, sorry, it just keeps skipping. I have only tried a few from imaginary authors. I've tried Slow Explosions, Yesterday Haze. I can't remember the other one. Maybe Saint Julep I've tried. None of them were special enough for me to want any.
I have not tried anything from that house. I've heard about it, but not smelled anything from it.
Okay, what I might do is I'm going to put the questions up on the screen that we can answer, make that easier. Nick, this question here, I don't know who the tease is. Do you have any idea what that's referring to, Eve?
No, I don't know.
Okay. All right. The group is a bit cultish. I don't know what that means. Signorina Bohemia, are you? I guess we can both answer that question, maybe. But maybe you first, Steve. Like, what prompted you to start YouTube?
So, in real life, most of my friends, actually all of them probably, aren't really into fragrances. Like they'll own a couple, but they're definitely not into, trying to find reviews or anything like that on their fragrances. And because I am super into that, I wanted an outlet where I can actually talk about it without boring some people. Well, hopefully not. But yeah, I just wanted a place where I can just chat about something that I really enjoy. Yeah.
I think I started the channel for pretty much the same reason, because where I am, even within my close, friends and family, acquaintances, no one else is interested in perfume. So once I became interested, this kind of became an outlet. But I kind of also did it to teach myself more about perfume, because if I was going to talk about it and say what I liked about stuff, kind of made me find out more, basically. So it was kind of a combination of being able to interact with people and educating myself, I guess. Gail, I have all the full bottles I want, but I probably would like to add Lost in Heaven to that as well. The Mogul, you're welcome. I'm not sure what the thanks was for. Sorry. Silverman says Mancera are more approachable than Montal.
I've heard that.
Yeah, my understanding is Pierre Montal, who founded Montal, his daughter runs Mancera, but it's basically under the same company. Mancera, Montal, and Montal are known for their metal cans, and Mancera in glass bottles. But Montal definitely have a lot of oud-based fragrances. Mancera a bit more. I find they look a bit more diverse to me. Nick's got Ristretto Intense Cafe. Good evening, DCJ Emma.
Oh, good evening.
Are you in Southern California, Eve?
Northern California. I did
Northern.
live in Southern California for a little bit, but I'm born and raised here, the Bay Area, which is in Northern California.
Okay. All right. Now, I think I had a question here. So apparently Mancera is popular in the Philippines.
Oh, really?
Okay, I'm going to put this question in. Brian's a fan of Tom Ford's Cafe Rose. It's not a question, it's a statement, but I found the same thing. See, Montal actually have a fragrance called, there's cafe in the title
Intense
now,
Cafe,
but
probably.
which
Is it
one?
Intense Cafe?
Yeah, Intense Cafe. But when I smelled that, it was mainly rose, and I didn't get a lot of coffee. So you agree with that? Yeah. Still the best coffee fragrance I've smelled is called Follow by Kerosene Fragrance, which is an American house. Do you like coffee fragrances, though, Eve?
So I am trying to find one that actually smells like coffee. Most of the ones I've tried, they don't smell like coffee at all, including Cafe Rose and Intense Cafe. I have not tried the kerosene one yet.
So it to me it smells like coffee, but it's not an intense bitter black coffee. It is milk coffee with a bit of sugar
Gotcha.
served. So, but it does smell like that to me. All right, so T-Rex Gardoni, I am really dying to try some Vogue perfume because everyone raves about it. Basically, have you heard about Mem and My in particular, Eve?
Oh, I haven't. No.
Okay. I don't know much about what they smell like because I have never smelled them, but the people who talk about them, particularly on Instagram, like just rave about them, and like almost to the point where like it almost makes you want to, like, they're the real influencers. Like, I must smell this. Let's see.
Do you like zoologists? I haven't tried a lot of that house. But...
I have not smelled anything that I would get a bottle of. I didn't mind camel. I liked rhinoceros, but no, nothing that I miss, like, that I wish I still had, or anything like that. So I think they've become. I mean, they've created this brand. It's a brand. They've got their gimmick. And like, everyone wonders what the next animal will be. Like, I think it's a very good marketing plan. There's always speculation about the next one, which perfume is going to get used. It's a good selling point, but ultimately, if I was blind testing these fragrances, to me, they're not that special. Do you have any thoughts on the upcoming new Les Exclusive by Chanel? Have you heard anything about it?
I've only seen some posts about it. I have no idea what it's supposed to smell like or anything like that. Yeah, I would say I'm not like a huge Chanel fangirl, so
Yeah.
I'm a little out of the loop in terms of Chanel stuff. But
okay, so people are talking about Mem from the Vogue perfume. That's the one I really want to try because of the lavender. What notes do you have, like, particular notes that if you saw on a note pyramid for something you haven't smelled will make you want to smell that fragrance?
yeah, I would say number one is probably cardamom. I really love the smell of that fresh cardamom smell. Rose is also something I really like. And I guess I do like incense, even though incense can smell very different from one fragrance to the next because it's such
Yeah.
a broad category. But like that frankincense smell, I do like.
I love frankincense as well. Like, and you're right about incense. Some incense smells just smoke, vague smokiness, and then frankincense is very distinct for me. And then you get incense that's not kind of smoky but very resinous as well. So I'm just having a look at our time. Maybe we'll go for about 5 minutes more, Eve, if anyone's got any more questions, because we kind of gave ourselves an hour here today, guys. But I'm very happy that you all joined us to listen to our favorite faraway fragrances. Brian, I agree with you on this. When I had a look at the note breakdown for this new Chanel, my exact thoughts were the same. Nothing really stood out to me. And because Chanel in general as a house, I have this kind of perception of them as being very well made, good materials, but nothing very exciting. Like, to me, still, this is still the most exciting Chanel I've smelled. But otherwise, everything else, is just really pleasant, well made. And this new Les Exclusive doesn't look that exciting to me. This is why I kind of have become more into Guerlain as well, Eve, because I find Guerlain has the same kind of quality and standards, but there is a lot for different tastes. Like, you can find some very adventurous scents, some very well-made classic scents, which I don't find in Chanel.
Yeah.
But I don't doubt the quality of the perfumes. It's just I've never been excited by Chanel as a house. Coromandel is beautiful, though, Brian. I do agree with that. Like, and I did buy a bottle of Boy from the Les Exclusives line. It's just a beautiful lavender. It's really well made. What hooked me with that one was that it developed really well. It's very subtle. Again, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it was beautifully made. It smelled good on my skin, and it kept me interested the whole way. Plus, it had really good performance for me. Okay, this might be our last question to answer, I think. Is there a vintage fragrance pre-1970s that you've never smelled and you're curious about? Thank you, Ms. Bohemia. Do you have an answer to that question?
The only one I could think of, I have smelled Shalimar, but obviously not any version of it from before the 70s. I am interested to see what it smells like from before.
Yeah. For me, I don't have one particular one. I would love to smell vintage, any Guerlain, pretty much, like whether it be Jiki or Shalimar, even old Vetiver or Habit Rouge, any of those. I'd just love to smell, just to compare them to what because I really love the current modern versions of those scents, and I can't imagine, like, I can only imagine how good they were back then as well. So that for me would just be like a great exercise in comparison. And I will say this as well. I don't know what your thoughts on vintage fragrance are, Eve. I'm almost too scared to go down the vintage rabbit hole, because if sometimes I'm scared to smell something vintage in case I think, well, I just can't go back to modern now, and I spend my time on eBay trying to hunt down, unicorns, basically. Are you the same?
I'm exactly the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am worried about that too. A lot of my time and money would be spent trying to look for that old one, probably, if it ends up being something I enjoy more.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the stream. Even I'm happy to have you back anytime, and if you want me to come on your channel, I'll do the same. But I've had heaps and heaps of fun today.
Same here. Thank you. It was such an honor being on your channel, and thank you so much for setting this up and spending this time to talk with me about something that
Anytime.
I enjoy.
Anytime. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching, asking questions, and being well behaved on the stream.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
didn't see any trolley comments at all,
That was
which is
nice.
good. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I'm about to end the stream, but thank you everybody. Thanks,
Thank
Eve.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.